Hello. Howdy. Hey, Laura. Good morning. How are you doing today? Hey, Angel. Hey, Deb. Good morning. Good morning, Brianna. How's everybody doing today? How was everyone's day yesterday? Just another day in heaven. Seriously. Oh, Scott, that's so real. Did you see? I'm assuming you saw the news about the massive sell-off in bonds along with the price of gold going up and how gold is now like the graph has they've converged, they've gone the other direction. That's really bad. Like, I don't think people understand how bad that is. The fact that the safe haven for people's money is now more gold and less bonds is really bad. Hey, Michelle. Thanks for the heart me. Good morning. How are things in Maryland? What's up, Shane? Got to do it before you forget. That's fair. That's fair. Not bad. Did laundry? Heck yeah. Or before, yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's at about that 5 minute mark that it will start picking up and then it will calm down. What's up, Aaron? Guys, if you're over on the tube, make sure you hit that thumbs up. And everyone who's over here on TikTok, just so you know, I go live here and over on the tube of you at the same time. You can say what you want over there without fear of the app actually filtering what you want to say. And there's some pretty cool people over there. Have you heard anything about the Office of Special Education being I mean, I've heard about them letting go basically everyone at the Office of Special Education, yeah. Unfortunately. Hey, Jill. Good morning. How are you? What's up, Philip? Unfortunately, Philip, it looks like either she's not interested or my email got thrown into junk because I have not heard a thing from them. You're still standing? No worries. Got Xbox. He's trying to show me how to play a game so we can play together. You're catching on. You think, heck yeah. Good for you. Hey, Dee Dee. Uh, because the GOP have the majority. It's their responsibility to get budgets passed, to get things passed, and to make sure that we have to make sure they have the votes they need to pass things. That's their responsibility. If they know they're not going to get 60 with it, then they need to negotiate to get 60. On what planet would you would you want your senators or congressmen to just vote for something that they didn't completely agree with? Is that how you think that all politicians should work? Just do it? I mean, that wouldn't surprise me, Michelle. Hey, Courtney. Good morning, Clara. They are. They're putting the health care of tens of millions of people. They're not what? They aren't wanting billions to send overseas. Sure they are, Aunt. Okay. Technically they still do at this moment, Michelle, I think. Nope. It's not the same CR. Things are not being funded in the same way they were at the last CR. So, no, it's not the same. But nice try, James. There is no funding for PBS in there. There's no funding for USAID in there. So it's not the same. That's not the statement. That's not the problem, Spiggin. I'm not saying whether or not you agree with what's in it. I'm saying people are calling it a clean CR and it's not. Just say what it is. Don't sit here and pretend that it's something else. Do you want to say thanks for playing? Here's your parting gift. Sometimes you being okay. Uh-huh. Okay. Sure. Oh gosh. Y'all. Guys, if you're over on TikTok, please. No, we're muting people, actually. This is my live. You don't get to say whatever you want in my live. No, bandana man. Democrats are putting Americans first by wanting to make it so people don't lose their health care. It's not whether it's cool or not. It's whether or not you actually have the right to say whatever you want in my live, which you don't. Okay, John. When we have homeless on the streets who need us, why? What does that have to do with anything having to do with adding the Affordable Care Act subsidies back into, like, what are you guys talking about? That's all the Democrats are saying they want is is the ACA subsidies. No, it's not a joke. It's made it possible for literally tens of millions of people that would not have had healthcare to have it. No, the Affordable Health Care Act did not cause health insurance rates to double. Capitalism caused health insurance rates to double. What's up, buddy?
You know, it's really, truly amazing. I guess you've been doing this for a while, Mike. You said about 20 minutes ago that in about 5 minutes, the crazies would start to arrive. And right on the 5-minute mark, in come the crazies.
Mm-hmm.
I love how they talk about the Affordable Care Act when they have literally no idea what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what the marketplace is? No, of course they don't. That's all the Affordable Care Act set up, was a marketplace. You're not buying Obamacare. You're buying the same health insurance from Aetna, from Blue Cross Blue Shield, from United Healthcare. You're buying a regular insurance policy, but because it's done at scale, you're getting it cheaper. That's all it did, was set up a marketplace. And it set up subsidies for those of lower incomes. What the shutdown is about is the Democrats want to keep the subsidies just like they are now. Not increase, not decrease, just keep them the way they are under current law.
You're not buying anything. So because you're not on the Affordable Care Act means that no one else should be?
27 million Americans are on the Affordable Care Act. And by the way, cutting it will hurt Republicans because 80% of the people, according to the Kaiser Foundation, who are getting subsidies from the Affordable Care Act are where? In red states. And what are the top states that get their insurance and subsidies from the Affordable Care Act? Number 1, Florida. Number 2, Texas. Number 3, Georgia. Number 4, Utah. Number 5, South Carolina. number 6, Mississippi, number 7, North Carolina, number 8, Tennessee, and number 9, Nebraska. Now, does anybody in chat have any idea what all those states have in common? They're red.
And Spigen, you paying $500 a month and getting nothing is a problem with the insurance company, not the Affordable Care Act. Again, the Affordable Care Act is not an insurance company.
The Affordable Care Act is just a marketplace to put you in touch with your insurance company and to give you subsidies if you are low income. That's it.
When you've had the cost of healthcare skyrocket because the cost of everything has gone up, when you have not had the cost of, when you've not had income, when you've not had paychecks for especially people at the bottom go up in a long time, in over a decade, not really, when you need to do things to make it possible for people that aren't really getting paid any more money to be able to continue to have healthcare. And that's what the subsidies do. They make it possible for the people at the bottom who are just not getting paid anymore because our government does not do anything to make it so people can survive, like afford to live. They're subsidizing. Again, if you're going to sit here and say there's a problem with our healthcare system, I will say, yes, Obama said we can keep our doctor, which was a lot. So Obama said you could keep your doctor back when it was signed. You understand that it's been, 15 years now since that was signed? Obamacare did not ruin the economy or the healthcare system. Insurance companies ruined the healthcare system. Capitalism has ruined the economy. Unchecked capitalism. Yes, Bianca. I mean, again, you're still dealing with the current healthcare system, so it's not going to be perfect. Why? Because I think that people deserve healthcare? Grow up, NMAC. What are you, a child? You don't even know what being a socialist means. Because of the left. No. But that's fine. Yes, our healthcare system is insanely flawed. And you know what? Congress has the capability of making changes. It's called laws. No such thing as free. You're right. They're not getting it for free. Nobody is getting it for free. Literally nobody. People on the Affordable Care Act are not getting health insurance for free. You always pay for other people's health care. That's how health insurance works, dude. You understand that, right? Everybody who is paying for health insurance, whether private or via the Affordable Care Act, you are paying for other people's health insurance. You are paying into a pool that pays for other people's health insurance. Like, that's how it works. People on the Affordable Care Act pay for their health insurance.
Well, they're going to be paying a whole lot more come November.
Especially if they refuse to work. You're still getting, you still are paying for health insurance, NMAC. Nobody on Affordable Care Act, nobody is getting free health care.
And Mac, you may want to look at the difference, and you can look this up. Well, maybe you won't be able to, but have someone who's intelligent tell you the difference between Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act. There's a difference.
Right.
You apparently can't grasp that, so try and talk to somebody and they can explain that to you.
And your 401k doubling means nothing in terms of the economy. My 401k 4 decades before I'm going to get to retire probably is not helping me pay my bills right now. And it's not helping most people in this country pay their bills right now. So saying your 401k is good obviously means you are in a privileged position to afford things. No healthcare is free. It is paid for by everyone who has healthcare, whether you on the Affordable Care Act or private. Jeez. Hey, Steffi. Correct. Not everyone has money to buy stocks or bonds or have a 401k. True. No. Nobody is paying nothing for the Affordable Care Act. Go to a food pantry and look at the cars.
What?
He is trying to imply that everybody who gets assistance is fraudulent.
I've got enough money to buy a nice car, but people need to make better choices. That is the most privileged statement I have ever seen in my entire life. That's not the most, but it's pretty high up there. Maybe you should grow up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I genuinely don't understand how everybody, like, how there's so many people out there who judge others in their time of need. That's like literally the time they need the least amount of judgment and the most amount of compassion from all of us and support.
Because they don't have compassion.
Oh,
That's
I
easy.
keep forgetting that. Damn it. One day I'll remember.
Hey, David. People do make poor choices. Okay.
I'm sorry, Mike.
Oh, just you think people make, like, everybody makes poor choices. Do you think that because someone made a poor choice, they don't deserve to be healthy?
The level of ignorance about our basic health care in this country is truly stunning. I mean, it's really stunning and very depressing. These people haven't the foggiest idea how it works. Not the slightest. Nor do they particularly care.
User blah, blah, blah. I am a U.S. taxpayer. And the people that will be suffering if the Affordable Care Act subsidies don't get continued are going to be American taxpayers.
Like, can I ask a question? Do they not teach in schools generally, as a rule, like what the basics that your government's responsible for and therefore what your taxes pay for? I'm not saying they're particularly good at that subject here in Canada, because trust me, I've had some unique discussions with people, but on the whole, there's at least some basic level of understanding of some things the government does here.
IKEA, by the way.
It seems like so many of these people like missed that class that day and they like didn't decide to like read the chapter or something. Because I'm like, even as a Canadian, I've got some basic understanding of what American taxes fund. Maybe not every single thing, but like, generic things like the ACA. Like,
Well, everyone's federal taxes,
yeah,
but
like obviously statewide taxes are going to be individual to each state, just like in Canada, each province and territory is going to be individual, but
this
there's
is
still
user blah blah blah. You're just making random statements and making no points. But why do you keep rejecting my request? Because I don't bring up people I don't know. That's why.
well, taxes generally do. Sorry, I was reading Raquel's question. Yeah, taxes generally do fund a lot of public services in most democratic countries, and that's why I said I just was wondering. I'm like, do they in school generally teach at least some of the basics of big, broad umbrella things that are covered? Like,
Unfortunately, states get to decide what their schools teach, and so that is not a guarantee.
I would love to say that's a unique situation, but that's the same here in Canada, except switch state with province.
Hi, Leo.
So how's the shutdown going? I was gone for Thanksgiving for the weekend, so I didn't look really at a lot of stuff. How's everything going with you guys? Who's
Great.
the weekend?
Just marvelous, can't you tell?
Yeah, I kind of can.
Just fucking super. You know, I continue to be amazed at their support of something that will hurt their own side significantly worse than it will the Democrats. You know who gets the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, don't you? You know where they go, don't you? To the red states, the vast majority of them.
Again, Scott, you're talking to people that think that everyone that needs those kind of things is just being like these people think that anyone that needs the Affordable Care Act to get health insurance at all is really just being lazy and doesn't want to get a job.
Yeah, well, they should. The normal argument on that is towards Medicaid, because under the Affordable Care Act, you have to have a minimum income to even qualify for the Affordable Care Act. Otherwise, you're put right into Medicaid.
But
But
again,
they don't know this.
they don't care because they think that anyone that is making that small amount of money is just being lazy and doesn't want to work. They think all you have to do is work hard and you will make plenty of money to survive. That's what they think.
You're the comment and thing about self-employed people in the ACA. You're quite right. That's a good portion of the people in the ACA.
Sure.
But if self-employed or not self-employed, if they make under a certain level of income, they have to get Medicaid, not the ACA.
Yeah.
Because in the ACA, you're paying premiums. Most people will get help with their premiums through the subsidies. That's what this shutdown is all about. However, they still have to pay their insurance premium.
Yep. And you're right. A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of self-employed, these are the things that people don't understand. The shutdown is going great. Really? You think almost 1 million people not getting paychecks is great? It's good to hear, Bob. It's all about the money, money, money.
First of all, Shuckett won't coming up here anyway because Shuckett is a MAGA asshole that I've seen plenty of times on other lives, so that's why he won't coming up. Period. But we don't have to worry about Shuckett anymore.
I wasn't worried about him in the first place.
That fucker! Oh my gosh! As soon as I saw it, I was like, "Cause oh my gosh, Felice used to tear him and her." When Felice by herself, and then when Felice and RTP were still doing their show together. Oh my God, Shuckett is horrible. And hi, Attorney Di. Good morning.
Hey,
Good
Di.
morning, Tiffany, Scott. I figured you missed my greeting because the chat was like, "Yeah, I shucked him." Well, we weren't doing that.
A
Yeah.
lot of government jobs are kind of oh my gosh, grow up. Grow up. Seriously. Hey, look at your 401k. Hey, my 401k doesn't allow me to buy groceries right now.
And the funny thing these people don't realize is that your 401k isn't going to necessarily mean you're going to be able to afford to buy groceries in the future either, because the value of that dollar sitting in your 401k doesn't usually have the same purchasing power in the future. So like they don't even understand the basics of simple finance. Like the purchasing power of your dollar goes down every single year that your money sits growing. It's why it has to get a certain amount of return in ROI. Like, sorry.
Oh, look, another dumbass comment, Greg.
What is it?
Yeah, I didn't see it either. I was looking for it.
Oh, he said, oh, look, another paid shill.
You know, I came in, you were reading off a comment, someone had said something about people being lazy. And it reminded me this past Saturday, like after Beck's had went off, and I was just trying to find something to listen to while I was straightening up. And I happened to notice that Steve, Fact Still Matters, was on a panel. So I went in there. He was on a MAGA panel. And it was like him and one other person, everybody else was MAGA. And there was this lady that was up there, and they started saying that whole lazy argument and that choices. People need to make better choices. People are lazy, yada, yada. First of all, the way it's set up, not everybody is meant to be rich, or there would be a whole lot of more rich people, and it would have been for a long time. That's not how it works. And just because you don't make a lot of money doesn't mean that you're not worthy of or deserving of anything in this life, especially when it comes to your healthcare, place to live, and the ability to eat. When I can't stand whether you're MAGA or not and you call other people lazy and you absolutely have no fucking clue, that is one of the most entitled. Oh my gosh, hang on.
Look, even the cats are saying
I
it's
know, they're pissed off the cats.
I know. You did something wrong. Like, but no, piggybacking off what Kia was saying, she's absolutely correct. Like, it's a super entitled statement, and to think that they're like, I've heard that so many times. Go get more education. Go get a better job. Okay, well, you realize there's only so many of every type of job, and not every single person can be in all of those types of jobs because there's quantities of those jobs. And on top of it, even if you had the education, God, we could go into thesis statements of all sorts of different things of why there's discrimination in the workplace and all sorts of things that discount that play into roles about why not everyone has access to good quality, stable, full-time jobs. Like that discussion could go on for so long, but like, why does that matter to you? Like, why is that not the thing that matters, that you think people just should work harder, get better jobs and stuff, instead of everyone should have access to food, everyone should have access to clean water, everyone should have access to homes, everyone should have access to quality education, everyone should have access to healthcare. It doesn't matter your station in life. Like, I don't understand I know somebody's gonna clock me in the comments again. It's tell me to stop thinking logically. I can't, because the logic goes along with just basic humanity.
The
And
economy is actually tanked. It was just reported that the amount of the bonds, U.S. bonds, are being sold off at an insane rate right now. And gold is being bought at an insane rate. You guys understand, if we don't have bonds, we don't have money.
yep.
And no, everyone did not have health care before the ACA, because there was a thing called pre-existing conditions. That was a massive problem before the ACA existed. Massive problem.
I'm okay, y'all. The cat's Waffy.
Waffy being Waffy.
Yeah,
That thing.
she jumped on Penelope, and then the kittens all kind of scattered, and everybody went everywhere.
Okay, maybe it's working now. Try and say something, Kia.
Can you see me unmuted now?
Yeah, no, you're still muted. Jesus Christ. Well, another day of talking over each other, I guess.
I can see you going unmuted. Can you see me, Scott? Like, I can't see Kia's. Kia stays muted all of the time.
Yeah, Kia's muted all the time up to right now.
You're muted, Tiffany.
You're muted now when you were speaking. Am I unmuted?
You were unmuted for me. Kia's muted for me.
Oh, Kia's muted all the time for me.
Like,
No, now she isn't.
Yeah. So for everyone in
no, she's not.
For everyone in chat, just so you know, it's not whether or not you guys can hear us. It's so we don't. The way it's normally worked is we pay attention to when people unmute themselves, so we know that they want to talk. But for some reason, right now, it's not showing that people are unmuted, even when they are. It's not a really question of being heard or not. It's whether or not we can know if people. I mean, I can never know, unfortunately, because again, this app is great.
Yeah, this app is it's really to help us so we don't talk over each other, and that's how, like, because if I'm looking, if I don't see them muted, if I see them muted, then I'll talk, but if they're unmuted, then I won't talk. And it's just a way to keep it, so we're not in here just tripping over each other.
Yeah, it's respect and being polite. We don't want to talk over each other.
And Geringer, ACA is the answer. ACA is the best that we have because nobody in government is putting anything else forth. Why is the answer always make things worse for the American people before you put something forth that would be better? Yes, the ACA is the answer because the ACA is the only thing that got rid of pre-existing conditions because it was the only thing that did it. No, the ACA did not make everything worse. That's just a talking point that you guys seem to like to grab onto. The ACA did not cause premiums to go up. Insurance companies caused premiums to go up. The insurance companies' desire to make as much profit as humanly possible caused insurance premiums to go up. Giving people access to health care did not do that. But as long as we as a government, as a society, are unwilling to regulate, at minimum, truly regulate our insurance companies, it will continue to happen. If we, what would fix the problem of it going up massively like it has? Single payer health insurance, universal coverage. The money that we're all paying towards premiums, we put into a pool that gives everybody health care through the government. But there are lots of other things that we could do. We just choose not to do it. The economy is not just fine. And if you believe that, you are not paying attention.
One of the reasons that Medicare for all or a single payer healthcare system would be more efficient is the economies of scale. You're having insurance companies taking about a 15 to 20% cut out of the premiums, and they're entitled to that. They're a business. After all, they're out to make money. However, Medicare is run for less than 1% of total premiums paid pays their transaction costs. So there's a savings right off Jump Street of 20% on healthcare. But there's more, because you would be able, if you had a single payer healthcare system, they would be able to negotiate tremendous deals with drug companies, for instance. in getting much cheaper prescription drugs for everyone, because they would have a market that they would be negotiating with of 340 million people. That's basic economics, folks. And it's the reason that most industrialized countries have national health care or Medicare for all. Most industrialized countries have that, not because they're kind and wonderful and they love their people. They do it because overall, it's less expensive that way. And it would be here too.
Again, this is the problem that I don't get. Giving people access to healthcare is not the problem. The health insurance companies that make it possible for us to be able to have healthcare are the problem. Stop blaming the ACA. The ACA isn't the problem. The ACA made it possible for literally tens of millions of Americans to get healthcare that did not have access to it before. The problem is not the ACA. The problem is the insurance companies. What's up, Captain?
Someone say insurance companies.
Yeah.
I have a fun, fantastic thing as someone who's worked in the insurance industry for a bajillion years. I've been in a meeting for profit sharing for insurance companies, and I can tell you that private insurance companies, to no surprise, is about the money. I have a saying in insurance. By the way, before I get into a rant like I usually do, how y'all doing? You doing well? You hanging in there?
Yes.
It's good to hear. I'm glad to see you guys. I've been so busy because our systems have been down for 2 weeks, and I have not been able to do anything but hand Excel spreadsheets and paperwork to fill out all these things. So, good times. But insurance, profit sharing, my favorite stories. My first off, my quote about insurance is this when it comes to private insurance. Insurance companies are a business. Businesses are there to make money. They don't make money by paying you or me. So if it's a for-profit insurance company, that means they make money by not paying the insurance. If you're not for a universal healthcare plan and you're like, well, private insurance is better, first off, insurance is a pool. And your private insurance company, do you think your premiums only go to you? Do you think you pay your premiums and it goes into a separate pool labeled John Smith and then they pull it out of that and pay you money? No, they don't do that. That's not how that works. They have overhead, they have costs, they have profit shares, all that stuff. You're still paying for other people's injuries. You're still paying for other people's hospital visits and preventive care and all those little benefits that you have on your insurance card. Yeah, other people have those and your premiums go to that. But not only do they go to that, they have to pay the admins, the CEOs. They have to pay all these different people. You know, the two largest earners for insurance for profit sharing are the claims department and the sales department. And the claims department, how do they make money for insurance companies? By denying claims, by looking for any way to cut the corners to save cost and money. And that's what they do all the time. A certain company that has a lizard as a mascot, they used to make their money by putting into their policies that they wouldn't pay for new parts on new cars. It was always aftermarket parts. It was always these different things that they would do so they could cut the cost overall and get people out. That if you have a claim, we'll solve it in 15 minutes or less. Yeah, that's this cost saving measure. That's how they do it. And they used to pay out profit sharing like I think it was 10 grand a person in a company. And just our office was like, claims was 2,000 people, sales was like 5,000 people. That should tell you more about what they cared about in terms of like taking care of people. And then they had like IT and some other stuff that was like broken down. But like in an office of like, let's say 10,000 people, just one office, they were paying out like 10 grand a person in profit sharing for just the savings in in claims, just what like claims wasn't paying out. And the delay in that process for claims was further made better by the process of doing it like a delay or anything like that based off of like the quarters, the tax quarters. Because if you didn't have a claim in a certain quarter, it wouldn't count against your overall profit. And so all that stuff comes into a big play for how insurance companies make their money, make their bread day to day. So if you're for private insurance companies because you're like, well, it's cheaper and I can choose my people and stuff like that. First off, private insurance company is going to tell you who's in network, who's not in network. So no, you don't get to just choose whoever you want. If it's not a network, you're going to be paying out of pocket. And even when you pay the extra money to have out of pocket network, guess what? You're paying them extra money. Of course you're paying them extra money to be out of pocket because they want to make the money off of that. So you're not getting the right to choose, you're paying for the right to choose. So you're still getting run through the ringer at the end of the day for that money. When you have a universal health care plan, the reality of the situation is that there's only so many doctors, only so many places that exist, but you're all under the same company. So there's no in-network, no out-of-network. Everything's in-network. Everything's in-network because it's one insurance company. You can't say something's out-of-network because it's all the network when it's universal. So you don't lose your right to choose. Sorry, that was a tangent.
No, you're good. Appreciate that.
That's the part though, Captain. That's what I always talk about when I talk about people don't understand the intersectionality. I hear an echo. Okay, that's better. They don't understand how everything works together. Why are people pissed off about poor people having access to healthcare instead of the fact that the damn insurance companies are making fucking profit off of us being sick, off of the people who are sick and can't afford to get healthcare, and for those of us that just pay into it so that the sick people can get it? Why are you guys not pissed off? All of you guys that are sitting here screaming about people getting healthcare and it shouldn't be free and the government shouldn't do it. It's insane.
And Peyton, you're saying because the VA doctors messed up on something that the VA doesn't work? Doctors always mess up. Doesn't matter which side you're on. Doctors are human. Our bodies aren't, things are black and white. And also, the VA is funded very differently than a universal healthcare would be funded. That is a completely different thing.
And it's also worth noting, in addition to all the salutary reasons that Captain went over, quite well, I might add, thanks, Captain, there's the portability of the job market. Imagine, folks in chat, if you didn't have to stay in a job you hated because you needed the health insurance. Imagine if you could go to any job you wanted, in any state you wanted, and health insurance wouldn't even be a consideration because you had a universal health care plan.
So
that would benefit our economy immensely. That is a downstream effect of having a national health care plan, is that you would have portability of your workforce. And that would help our country immensely in ways that have nothing to do with healthcare.
I have an answer for Steve's overcharging hospitals. It's all goes to one thing, and it's how negotiations are done for pricing in hospitals. I'll keep it as short and simple as I can because it gets really in depth, but it's basically this. Insurance company A goes to the hospital, says, I want to get everything for cheaper. When I pay the money for the people that go here that are my customers, I want to get cheaper. Let's say something costs $100. That's very cheap for a hospital, but it's $100. The insurance company says, I want 50% off of that procedure. Well, here's the deal. It costs $100. There's no lower or higher for that procedure. That is the base cost for supplies, the time of the doctor, stuff like that. So they can't give it them for 50% cheaper because then they would be losing money, right? And everyone's against subsidies and paying hospitals, so the hospital doesn't want to do that, right? You don't want that to happen. So why does the hospital overcharge? because they're going to go and charge 50% over cost, and then the insurance company is going to get their 50% discount, which ends up just being the base cost that it does cost to do it anyway, but they feel like they're getting a percentage off, so they feel better. Then when you, John Smith, go in there and you don't have that insurance company, or it's out of network or whatever, you're paying the 150% price of something because the insurance company wanted 50% off. And that's because it's a private insurance company trying to make a buck and get the most amount of money out of what it is they're doing, which drives off the cost for the regular person who doesn't have insurance and can't have a company negotiate for them, or or can't afford the premiums to have something out of network and what have you. So the reason hospitals overcharge, whether that's right or wrong, I'm not saying, the reason they overcharge is because the private insurance company is asking for a discounted percentage off of something so that they can make quote unquote savings, which ends up just going back to the consumer who doesn't have that insurance company. And that's why private insurance drives up the cost for hospitals, because they're just trying to get their own discount and make again, because insurance is a business are there to make money, and they don't make money by paying you and me. They are there to make profit, so they can pay their shareholders and investors and administrators and boards. Warren Buffett, he doesn't care about the average person. He can talk all he wants. He can come in and eat a hot dog for breakfast and a Coca-Cola and say, how do you do? But the man's made his money not because of the respectfully kindness of his heart, but because he owns a business, and a lot of businesses asking for the most amount of savings back.
Peyton, no, the VA is not funded the same way as universal health care would be. The funding for the VA is decided by Congress. How much money the VA gets to do things is decided by Congress. They can make up a number. That would not be the same way funding for universal health care would be. Everyone would get taxes taken out. That's very different than the VA. The VA, how much staffing, how much funding the VA gets is completely and 100% decided by Congress. 535 people decide how much funding the VA gets. Very different. Drastically different.
So, to that point of people are complaining about how the VA is funded, and I know several people who are. I'm not in it. I won't claim that. I know the intermittencies of it, but I do know. I have done investigations with people revolving the VA. What I will say is this: the whole point, like union, is the point of collective bargaining. If you're at insurance company A and John Smith's at insurance company B and Jane Doe is at insurance company C, you don't have the collective bargaining to say, hey, we want better prices and stuff like that, except for the people who are currently inside of your insurance company. And since there's 3 people split, you have only 1/3 the possible power to negotiate things further. When we put into a centralized universal healthcare system, the power is within the vote. The power is within the voting of everybody in the country saying, hey, this isn't working, fix it. Now everybody in the United States can go towards that and say, hey, we want to collectively bargain and vote to make this system a better system, rather than being split into thirds in our current system under a private insurance, which is a private institution that can do whatever the hell it wants. If you think of it that way.
And no, Congress wouldn't be able to decide per se. They would, in the sense of they would decide how much would get taken out of everyone's taxes to fund healthcare, just like they do with Social Security and everything else. And obviously everything is decided on how the bills are written. But in the grand scheme of things, no, it would be different.
To answer about whether I profit from insurance companies, I am not a part of that system anymore. I actually am now, I do investigations for fraud and abuse through the state. Still through an insurance type of thing, but I do private investigations now. I'm not part of those meetings anymore. But I'm very well aware what they are and what they do in them.
They would not. Peyton, you obviously don't want to listen to anything that I'm saying, so I'm not sure what you're getting at here. If you're what you're trying to get me to admit is that someone somewhere will be making decisions on people's health care, the answer is always. The answer is going to be always, whether it's universal or not. The difference between having a universal healthcare in our current system is I don't want to pay a company whose job is to make profit to decide whether or not I get something covered. That's the difference. Right now, everybody's healthcare is decided on whether or not someone wants to make a profit off of it. I don't want that anymore. That's it. If you're expecting any system to come out to be perfect, then why even bother doing anything? Because that's never going to happen. Because there's no such thing as the perfect solution.
And here's the thing, like if let's say America decided how Canada's system is set up is it works for them. How Canada's works is that we pay taxes. The federal government gives a portion to the provinces to fund the healthcare system in each province. The province then uses some of our tax dollars when we pay provincial taxes to fund that system. And then our province is the one that regulates and does all of the healthcare for each individual province and territory. Sorry, my dog has to come in. Within each province. I don't particularly love the system. It's how it was legislated and created when it was created. I would rather much prefer a national system than the provincial system we have here in Canada, but I would never trade my healthcare for not 1 second. Never, never. But yeah, and so all of our hospitals here in Alberta, we have two kinds. We do have kind of, I guess, what you kind of call private, because we have AHS, so Alberta Health Services regulated hospitals, and then we have hospitals that are under Covenant Health, and it's the Catholic Services style hospitals that our province pays to distribute the healthcare services to the public. Like, there are many different systems and ways to do universal healthcare. It's done differently in England. It's done differently in France, Germany, Australia. Like, a lot of us do them in different ways. But what it does is it takes the profitability of hospitals kind of out of the system, sort of, because it's not about hospitals making money anymore.
And again, folks, a universal healthcare system would actually be less expensive. You're removing the middleman. You're removing the insurance companies from the equation. And we have an example of it here in the United States. It's called Medicare. And what does it cost to run Medicare? Less than 1% of premium. That's a pretty good deal.
So again, every time anyone makes a statement about one specific case and says that this specific thing is the reason that this happens, it puts this entire system into a black and white thing. All of this is cyclical. One thing causes another thing, which causes another thing. And this is my biggest statement. If we don't actually look at all of the bits, like, again, do I think that our healthcare system is broken? Yes, 100%. Is causing 10, 20 million people to potentially lose their healthcare because of increased premium costs due to the loss of subsidies going to fix the problem of our healthcare system? No. Is it going to make premiums cheaper? No. On all of that. So again, if you think we should not be spending money on subsidies because our healthcare system is broken, then let's fix the healthcare system, not cause 20 million people to lose their healthcare potentially.
You know, another thing too with how insurance is run, and I'll admit readily up front on the health insurance side, I'm not as knowledgeable about it, but I know that it runs to the same. I know it runs to the same board, and every single state, to the best of my knowledge, there is the state insurance board, and the state insurance board, they dictate how insurance is run through the state and what you can and cannot do as an insurance company in business as far as regulations go. So a quick example, and again, I apologize, I'm using auto insurance versus health insurance because I can't think of a direct one off the top of my head. But in New York, Rhode Island, Connecticut, like the whole northeastern states, which I did a lot of claims and stuff like that back in the day, there are set limitations. When you drive your car, I'm sure it's down where y'all live and stuff like that, when you drive your car and you get on the road, there is a baseline level of insurance you need, except for Rhode Island, they're live free and die, but there's a baseline level of insurance you need and coverages that you need. And there's certain things that insurance companies can do and cannot do. In Massachusetts, for instance, your insurance company cannot offer you go to an auto body shop of their choice. If you have one in mind, it's illegal. Last I checked, it's illegal to offer a body shop from the insurance company's perspective if you have one of choice, because of the regulations that the state insurance board has on them. And if an insurance company breaks those regulations and does things against them, or doesn't offer certain things the way that they're supposed to, the standard operating procedure, if you will, they can get fines. And if you get enough of them, the state can say, hey, you're not allowed to sell insurance in here anymore. You're not allowed to operate in our state because you screwed up too much. All of this is to say is that we already have parts of the insurance going through state businesses anyway, and regulations through the state already, and they're all regulated by the government in that way. So the only thing we're doing with private insurance at this point is, like everyone's saying, running it through a third party whose job is to make profit. It's already regulated by the state. It already has to go through them for a vetting process to even operate. And so that process is already pretty much set up. The only difference is that we're allowing a private company to also dictate other aspects of it and run a business off of your health. Why would you want that? I don't want that. The government. So if you're afraid of the government running insurance, newsflash, they already are. But you're paying somebody else to go through the government regulation for you. Why would you do that? Why would you pay extra money? That's silly. Don't be silly. Sorry.
Silly is the least thing that we have said to people, especially in the last 15 days.
I like to think that it's not willful ignorance for the most part. I like to think that. I like to think that a lot of people lack an understanding of a subject. I'm ignorant on many subjects, and I don't think it's offensive to call myself ignorant of things that I'm not directly privy to. And I'll readily admit when I'm wrong and try and learn about things. But, you know, I want to think that if you don't want to learn something, or if you have a viewpoint and you're just unwilling to change initially, then you're being silly. It's when it becomes a malicious, willful act of like, I'm not going to learn things, I don't want to learn things, I don't want to do things. That's when you're upgrading yourself to being a maroon at that point in time. And it's just like, come on, like, we can be wrong. It's okay to be wrong. I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to make fun of you for being wrong unless you're doing it with malicious intent. So I'm always like, you're silly. You're being silly today. So don't be a silly goose. Figure it out. Listen to people. And if you don't believe me, go look it up. Go look it up. You got a state insurance board. They'll teach you. They have classes for free. You can go look it up. It's a thing. So, happy Tuesday.
Yeah. Except it's Wednesday. And
It is. Oh, that's a sad thing. Oh God, no. My day. I told you. I've been run through the ringer.
Oh my God, bro, you had me think. I'm like, wait a minute. Today's not Tuesday.
no.
I was like, I know I had Monday
But I'm
off.
wrong on what the day it is. I was willfully ignorant of the day.
Yep. I mean, I only know it's Wednesday because I thought yesterday was Wednesday, and I messaged the person that I'm interviewing tomorrow saying, are we still on for tomorrow? And they're like, I thought we were on for Thursday. And I was like, oh shoot, I'm off. This to everyone in here that wants to keep coming in and saying it's a GOP shutdown. I'm going to say it one time for all of you. If you're still here, you might not anymore because we muted you. It's a GOP shutdown. The GOP have the majority. The Democrats would love to reopen it. And the Democrats have actually told, like, negotiation isn't even necessary if they're willing to accept it. They've given them their entire list of things in their second bill that they put forth, knowing that the GOP wouldn't take it. But they've said, look, we will go all the way down to just bringing back the ACA subsidies, and we will sign this CR. You add that in, and we're good. It's the Republicans that have chosen to not negotiate at all. And again, this is the reality, people. This is the reality. No matter what Mike Johnson likes to say up on that podium and whine about, oh, we don't have to do this, we don't have to do all this. No, you do. That's called being an adult and being in the majority. It is your job to get the votes necessary to pass the bill that you want to pass. That is their job as the majority leaders in the House and the Senate. Okay? That is their job. GOP wanted, no, they didn't. The GOP did not want a clean bill because it is not funding the same things as it was in March. It is not. It's not clean if it's not funding the same things. PBS is no longer being funded. It's not a clean bill. USAID is no longer being funded. It's not a clean bill. Because you know what was funded back in March? Those two things plus many, many, many others. It doesn't matter whether you or anybody else thinks that it's wasteful. It's not the same. If it's not the same, it's not clean.
The bottom line, folks, is that the playing field changed with the passage of the big, beautiful bill. So we do not have the same playing field that we had in March. Therefore, by definition, it's not a clean bill. Secondly, it takes 60 votes in the Senate. Those are the Senate rules. It takes 60 votes. Now, what does that mean? That means it is incumbent, whether it's a Democratic or Republican majority, it is incumbent to negotiate with your counterparts because you need their votes too. That's the way our government works, folks. That's the way it works. And the Republicans were well aware of that. Well aware of that.
Yep.
Thirdly, anytime the Republicans want, 5 minutes from now on the East Coast of the United States, it is now 10:36. At 10:41, the Republicans can pass everything they want without a single Democratic vote by getting rid of the filibuster. They can get rid of the filibuster anytime they want by a simple majority vote, but they won't do it because they know that someday they'll be in the minority. But they should stop their whining because these are the facts.
Welcome to the new reality. What's the new reality? The new reality being that whoever's in the majority can get their way even though they need the votes of the minority party? Is that the reality you're talking about? Because that is the reality.
Exactly. The reality is the rules of the Senate require 60 votes, period.
Now, again, just like Scott said, the Republicans in office, in the majority, have the ability to change that reality. They have the capability of getting rid of the filibuster. Would I hate it? Would I not like it? Because I think it would make life more difficult for all Americans throughout the government, because once it's gone, it's not coming back.
So I may have taken a different, and I don't, Patrick, if you're still in here, I may have taken the new reality, because my one thing when Scott was sitting there talking about, and this is my opinion, no one has to agree with me, and if you don't, I don't care. And if you do, I don't care either. But I think for me, the new reality, when I think about it, is the fact that the government does not work the way it used to. And that is the new reality, and has been for what? Since Mitch McConnell literally stood up and was like, we're not going to do anything that Obama wants to do. And since then, it has been so different. It just seems like everything is different. I almost think it's insane of us to think that in 2025, in the current situation that we're in, that if we keep trying to play by the rules that we were playing with in the 80s and whatever, I just don't think we're in the same place. And I don't know, Patrick, if that's what you were speaking of. Sometimes it could be one of those times when the comments just don't come across with all the context. But for me, I do look at it as a new reality. I do think we're in a new reality. And I think if you're still playing by the rules of 1980, 1985, the 1900s period, I think that's part of the issue. And I think that's why so many people are getting so pissed off, because you're still trying to play by a rule book that the other side has long since threw away.
And yeah, I mean, and in my terms, when I'm saying the reality is the reality is that the government shut down because 60 votes are needed. And they have the ability to change it, and that will change what the reality is at this moment. And yeah, part of the reality is that no one knows what the reality is anymore. That is part of our reality right now. Is that in many ways the book has been thrown out the door, which is frightening for a lot of people, which is why when a lot of people say, don't worry because X, Y, and Z, my first response is assuming that that they care about X, Y, and Z, which again, those are all fun, frustrating things.
Patrick, are you still in here? I'm curious if that's what you meant. Regardless of what anybody else said, I'm curious. What are you guys doing?
Right?
I agree with you on that point, Kia, is that there's definitely a less of a working towards the future as a whole. Like, the system's designed to be adversarial. It works best when it is adversarial. In terms of like how we get to a point is the most important thing. Like, how we get to a point we can disagree there. It's like, hey, I want everything to be better. How we get there, I think we do this, you think we do that. Where's the compromise in the middle so that everything can get done, right? And that's the important part. That's where the adversarial part is supposed to be. But when it's just simply, no, I don't want to do anything, regardless of good, bad, indifferent. I don't want to work towards a compromise. I don't want to work towards something. That's where we're at, and that's where the problem resides, is that it's not simply this. And I know there's going to be people in the comments who are going to say, well, it's a small amount of Democrats who don't want to compromise and yada, yada, yada. Listen, one person can mess up your whole day in anything that you do. If you've ever done a group project in school, you know this. But more importantly, when we're talking about the government, one person's the president. I don't think that multiple people are the president. So one person in the executive branch runs that whole spiel right there. And so for the other side of checks and balances, we have multiple people that have to come to the table and agree on something. And they're in lies the whole point, is that you have to convince all these people that what you're doing is a good idea and compromise to bring everyone to the table to move things forward to what the ultimate goal should be, is make us a better country, through that compromise, through the differences that we have. If you really want to believe that Make America Great Again philosophy, right, let's just end it at Make America Great. And in order to do that is we all have to come to the table, compromise, and agree on certain things and values. And one side of the table just says my way or the highway. And that does not a good group project make. You just can't do that and expect a good outcome at the end of the day, because a singular viewpoint, mine included, or anyone's included, a singular viewpoint, it doesn't take into the full account of everything that's needed for everyone in every walk of life. I don't know everyone's life. Everyone doesn't know my life. And so I can't say that the way I live my life is better for somebody else. I have to listen to what they need and then compromise on what I can provide them or what someone else can provide them. That's the point of the government.
At least in the Senate, this began when, in this century, about 20 years ago, when Merrick Garland was nominated by President Obama to go to the Supreme Court, and Mitch McConnell wouldn't even give him a vote. Now, why is that important? Because the Constitution reserves for the United States Senate the advise and consent on judicial appointments. That presumes that you have to give him a vote. You have to advise and consent. That's their constitutional duty. And Mitch McConnell just wouldn't do it. And then, back then, you had to have 60 votes to make it to the Supreme Court. When President Trump came around, they did away with the 60 votes for judges to the Supreme Court. Now it's a simple majority rule. Again, the Senate has the authority to change their rules anytime they want, but it seems to be one party doing it.
Yep.
Well said, Scott. On that note, Mike, if you could, I got a Mosian. You can kick me. I love y'all. I hope you have a fantastic Wednesday. Always good. I'm going to try and listen in the background, but work calls, literally.
I hear you, man.
You guys have a
Have a good one.
Thanks for coming up. Appreciate you.
Take care, Captain.
Where is it? Constituents are not being represented by our current Congress. That's the biggest. Adrian, I mean, I agree. That is a huge issue. My only caveat to that statement is, nobody we put in office, we will ever feel fully represents us. There's too many different, like, our districts have too many different people in them. Like, what I think is important is what, my next door neighbor might not think is important. And they might feel represented by the current people in Congress. Not saying that that's right. I'm just saying that's partially a reality. I think the reason that we aren't represented is that they aren't considering their districts at all when making decisions. And we know that because the same people that voted to get this administration in office are now, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene now saying that, we need to put the subsidies back in. Well, she helped make it happen. What that shows me is that they are doing things because the leadership want them to do it, not because they're actually thinking. They don't know what's in the bills that they're signing. They don't know what they are agreeing to. And then they're pulling back once the realities come forth and they realize that their people are going to be hurt by it, which means their ability to stay in office is going to be hurt by it. So I think there's a myriad of issues. I think it's less that people don't feel like that they are being represented. It's that they're not representing us, because we will always feel that in some way, shape, or form. It's that they aren't even attempting to represent anybody right now. And that is the big problem, I think. There are a few. Again, whether I like him or not, what's his face? The Congressman Massey? Is it Massey? Is that it, Scott? The one who... Yeah. Regardless of whether I agree with half the things he votes for, he has stuck to certain things like a rock. And I can appreciate that. I can respect him for that specific thing. He is pushing to get the Epstein files released. He is not voting for budget bills that raise the national debt.
Yeah, I agree, Mike. Massey has principles, most of which I disagree with. However, he does have principles, and he sticks with them. And when Trump cracks the whip, it does no good with Massey.
And here's
he
the thing.
sticks with his principles.
And here's the thing. The principles that he's sticking to, I'm actually okay with. I don't want to keep raising the national debt. I am all for lowering the national debt. I think our national debt has gone absolutely insane. We need to curb it. My problem is not that we don't agree that national debt's the problem. The issue that I have is how we curb the national debt is the problem. Like that's where the disagreement is. The disagreement on how we curb it is one side thinks we just need to cut spending across the board, completely ignoring the fact that while also cutting the income. So we're cutting the income and cutting the spending, even though we were already overspending based on the income. So why would cutting the income and cutting the spending at the same time actually help lower the debt? Also, we live in a time where everything is more expensive. So by just the nature of inflation, we are going to have to spend more money. So at minimum, yeah, we should be keeping the same spending on a lot of things, because yes, I think there is waste in our government. You know, we've talked about how our Department of Defense has never passed an audit. That's an issue. That shows waste. The problem is what the GOP are calling waste are just spending on things that they disagree with. There's no evidence that the money is being used improperly or they're not keeping track of it. Where the Department of Defense has shown that they are doing things, that they are running things poorly. And instead, they're getting given more money. So, again, we can have a completely separate discussion on whether or not certain things that we fund, we should be funding. Let's just take USAID. I personally think it's behooving on us for multiple reasons to support other countries with USAID. I think as one of the wealthiest countries in the world, yeah, we should do those kind of things. I'm at least willing to have an argument about why we should be changing the funding for that to something else, maybe locally. I'm okay with that conversation as long as the conversation is I don't think that we should be doing it. That means it's wasteful spending. That shouldn't be the conversation. The conversation should be, why are we spending where we're spending? You don't think that we should be spending here? Okay, where should we be spending it? How do we work that? Like that doesn't show a lack of humanity, because in the end, the reason that I say, I know USAID funds our farmers. Yes, Claire. I think there's lots of benefits to funding USAID locally and worldwide. Personally, and we can have that conversation, and you don't technically have to agree, but again, if the comment is coming in and just saying, oh, I disagree with it, that means it's wasteful, that ignores the realities of not only running a country, but running about being part of a global society where, like, having humanity, things like that. We don't, not agreeing is part of being human. Me and people on this panel don't agree on everything. The problem, again, I know we went probably pretty far off the original topic, but the problem now comes is that we have a government that has shown that it does not have the capability of functioning properly. And part of that reason is us as voters not holding them accountable, continuing to vote the same people into office every single year because they have an R or a D next to their name, or not voting in the primaries to get someone who wants to bring things like accountability and responsibility back into office. Do you think it really matters where the 20 billion is coming from? It was ours and now it's gone.
I believe
I know they're
the
talking
chat-
about Argentina, but
It always matters where the money goes. Every single dime. And I guess that's why I never voted R, because like the whole, like, growing up learning what, let me say it this way, I've never voted in a for conservatives, because there's no way everything cannot keep growing. Our country cannot keep growing the way the prices increase. You cannot keep making cuts and giving people tax cuts and expect us to ever pay down our debts. That's never going to work. I've never understood the idea of small government. Not necessarily, and it's crazy because it was always, when I was going to school, it was small government, and they didn't want the government in your business. And damn if they don't actually have the government in women's fucking uteruses at this point. And all the money, all the tax breaks for the corporations and the billionaires. Where do you guys think? Do we think that we're going to get $36 trillion to help pay down our debt out of regular people's pockets and their taxes? Absolutely not. If there's so many things that are just so jacked up in so many ways, like I hate that people are so open to false information and they don't fight against it at all.
Skyline, yes, tank the economy. And no, I don't get my information from legacy media. I get my information from the economics organizations whose job it is to keep track of what's going on in the economy. I focus on things like the fact that we are selling, US bonds are being sold at a unseen rate ever, and the cost and the value of gold is skyrocketing, which means the United States will have less money. Straight up. That is bad for the economy. I'm looking at the fact that we now have tariffs on lumber and furniture, and all these other tariffs are coming into effect that are causing the cost, which has already been shown to have 50%, over 50% of the cost of inflation has been already put onto the consumer. And that's before all the tariffs hit, and that's while there was still supply in this country, because a lot of companies knew that these tariffs were coming and started stocking up. So we haven't even hit it. We haven't even hit the problem yet, because inflation is growing. Because, like, whether or not it's as bad as it was at one point. It was at 2.3% in March. It is now over 3%. That is inflation going up, because the amount of people looking for jobs and the amount of jobs that are available are opposite. There are more people looking for work than there are companies looking for employees. That's dangerous for our economy.
And another thing that's dangerous for our economy and will be dangerous next year, the year after, and 20 years from now, is that now the biggest part of our entire budget, the entire American budget, bigger than the Defense Department, is paying interest on the national debt. $1 trillion a year we're going to cross. We're crossing that threshold now. $1 trillion. What that means, that talk about wasted money. You want to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse? That's the biggest wasted money in the world. So yes, Massey's right that we shouldn't be having this type of budget deficit. Of course, his prescription as to where to get the money from is where we would disagree.
Mm-hmm.
However, that's a major problem that people aren't focusing on. The national debt is going to cross $1 trillion, not because of war, not because of famine, not because of a depression, but to give tax cuts to billionaires and corporations. Now that is what is in the big beautiful bill, and that is why they extended the borrowing limit by $4.5 trillion, because they know it's going to add to the debt.
And the fact is as long as we keep talking about lowering or raising taxes on income, a vast majority of the money that this country has is in wealth, is in things that are not getting taxed unless they're getting sold. And the fact is that the richest people, the top 1%, will never spend their wealth. They have so much wealth that they literally borrow off of it. They don't actually use it. They don't actually like sell their stocks. They take out loans based on those stocks, which means that money is just sitting there. It's not getting put back into the economy. It's not being used to build things. It's not being used to pay people. It is just sitting there, making the top 1% more money.
I'm.
Oh,
Oh, sorry, Kia. You can go first. It's okay.
I was gonna bring in conversation from the Tube, because just in case you guys didn't know, we're also streaming on the Tube. You can come over and hang out with us. You don't have to worry about being filtered with what you say. It also helps promote what Mike's trying to do and grow. But Perfectly Imperfect Aaron said if they want a balanced budget that will reduce debt, they need to bring in some middle and low income moms to do the budget. And to spend more, they have to ask them permission first. Plus, it would be hilarious to watch a bunch of moms explain why Congress can't have the newest toy because they can't afford it.
Yep.
Perfect.
I mean,
It's awesome.
in the end, we need to start putting in, like, again, I know there's this whole group of people that hates the idea of regulations because regulations are frustrating. Of course, regulations are frustrating. That's a given. Regulations will always be frustrating. To have to, especially if it doesn't allow you to do something that you want to do, that doesn't matter. It should, we talked about this yesterday, it should be a requirement that Congress has to pass a budget by October 1st. And if they don't, they aren't allowed to do anything else. They aren't allowed to go back to their districts. They, like, literally, the House and Senate stay open. They can't close the House and Senate if there's no budget.
Exactly. Make them stay at work until they do their job.
Yes.
Make them stay at work. They have to stay in session until they pass a budget.
They can't get on TV and talk like Mike Johnson is doing every single friggin' day, making up new bullshit to complain about. It's so funny. It's watching Mike Johnson every single day right now is like watching, hey Shug, is like watching Trump in his first term. It's like he's throwing things against the wall to see what will stick. And every time he comes in with a new argument, you realize that they notice that nothing stuck. Who voted for the government to open? Whose job it? Who is the majority, DJ? Who is in the majority? The majority's job is to get enough votes, is to know how many votes they need to get to pass a bill. If they don't have the votes, then they can't pass the bill. The majority chose not to negotiate in any way, shape, or form and just say vote for this or else. That is not leadership. That is called being a child.
Well, I was going to say before that, like, I'm still shocked that the Defense Department has never passed an audit. Like, to me, I don't understand why they get any more money. Like, if you cannot pass a single audit, like,
Because they don't
you're
really
talking to
care.
somebody in accountant. You're talking to somebody in accounting. I'm like, what? Like,
Because they don't really care.
my mind just got like completely blown. But at this point, the debt interest going to $1 trillion, like, and it's for the whole panel. Are there genuine concerns at this point that the U.S. is going to start defaulting on stuff? Is this a genuine concern?
Not right now, Tiffany, but that's not a crazy question. That's a very legitimate question. And we have to ask ourselves, what happens now that we've lost our flexibility to add to the debt if we do have a depression or we do have a war, which are very legitimate reasons to go into debt. You don't go into debt when times are good. And the economy was good that Trump inherited and is now adding $4 trillion to the national debt. He's adding $4 trillion to it. That's ridiculous. You add $4 trillion to the national debt if it's World War II. You add $4 trillion to the national debt if it's the Great Depression. Then you have to print money. You have to do it to rescue the country. But there was no need to do this, none. And that begs the question of what happens if there is an emergency. The flexibility in the American budget is no longer there.
It's like, I just genuinely, my mind is still blown that there's departments in the U.S. who've never passed an audit. Like, I'm still stuck in that land. Like, I just, like, how is there no legislation around the fact that you need to have audits done every single solitary year, or even if it's every 4, let's assume maybe it's on a time that government changes. Like, how is that not part of the law in America that the departments have to pass audits or provide audited statements? How, like, am I missing something? It might be a Canadian translation thing.
They don't care. Erie Girl, I appreciate what you're saying. We do have a rule in here that you don't do caps. I understand it's a big thing that you're trying to get across, but please respect the rules of this community. We don't want to have to do anything.
But yeah, like, when you say these things, like, my mind goes to, is the United States government at a point where it's a genuine concern that there will start being defaults? Is that why bonds are being sold off and everyone's buying into gold? Like, is there some indication at this point that people are starting to realize this is a problem, like a big one?
Well, yeah,
like a scary one, like a scary one, not just for America and the American public, but
I
for the
don't
rest
think
of the world.
I don't think people realize the bond market thing is one of the biggest examples of the economy crashing. The fact that people are taking their money out of bonds and putting them into gold is one of the most dangerous indicators of a collapsing economy.
To answer your question, Tiffany, there's not much of a risk right now of America defaulting. But if there is an emergency, it becomes a different subject. If we go to war, it's a different subject. If there's another pandemic, it's a different subject. And if there is a depression, it's a different subject. That is what is so terrifying. Because when you're paying $1 trillion a year, and you're not really paying that trillion, you're adding that to the national debt. You're just putting it all on the national credit card. Eventually, you reach a point where it's not sustainable. And we are more than on that path now.
Like this, I don't know if people realize how scary this is, not just for America and of course for the American people, because all of us know, like every day it's a thought when I wake up of my concern for what's going on there. But
Yeah, what's a lie? What's a lie?
I don't think people genuinely understand how this is a global impact. If something like that happens in the US, the ripple effects across the globe, the Great Depression is going to look not so great anymore. We'll put it that way. This is bad. Like, I remember sitting in economics classes when they taught about implications of this type of.
Tiffany, forgive me, because I've just been called a liar. Okay,
What?
Jay Allen, what's a lie? Be specific, dummy.
Yes, go Scott, go. To go, it's not that nobody's going to save you, it's that all of us can't. Like, it's not that we don't want to help. Like, around the world, it's not that people around the world don't want to help. Like, that's not, it's that we can't. There's the difference. Our hands are tied.
It's all a distraction.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Look, whether or not they are doing it to distract us does not change the realities of what we are living in. And if you think that, fine, you obviously know everything. Maybe you should be running for office or do something other than being on here.
Once again, Jay Allen, tell me what I lied about. You just called me a liar. Be specific. Be specific, Jay Allen. Come on, stupid. Be specific.
If you're going to say stuff, you have to say the whole sentence, all the context.
And again, yes, this government does a lot of things to try and distract us from other things that they are doing. There's no question about that. Not a question. Not even a little bit. By the way, while we're waiting for the response, which probably won't come, I'm live here on TikTok and over on the tube. If you like not having to worry about your stuff getting filtered and you want to help this live grow, help this podcast grow, going over there and hanging out, you can still see what's being chatted over on TikTok, and you can see the chat on the tube, because I have both over there. So that would be very helpful. And also, if you're over on the tube, make sure you hit that like button. That's all I'm saying. So all you're saying is that they're doing stuff to distract us.
Jay Allen.
Look, yes, they're doing stuff to distract us. Yes. And you know what? At some point, we're going to talk about all of it. Because there's still things that affect people. The things that are distractions for them to do other things, there's still things that are happening. And there's still things that are affecting people. So we will still talk about it. Because we can't talk about the same thing again and again and again and again and again. Because this community, this coalition, this everything is not about just talking about the same things again and again and again and again and again. Although it feels like it is sometimes, because we get the same people coming in and making the same dumbass comments. But there's not much we can do about that. But in the end, the goal is to try and figure out how we as a country can move forward. And part of that is being accepting and understanding that these are the realities that we live in now. That's just part of it. Do we get it right all the time? No. We're all doing our best. We're all figuring it out. And sometimes we'll focus on things that you don't think we should focus on. Welcome to the world.
But the thing is, the distractions, some of them are actually harmful things. Even if they are distractions, the actions that are being taken are still harmful to the American people. So like chalking them up to distractions, or this is just to deflect for this and that and the other thing, you're still just perpetuating that rhetoric, which basically allows them to continue to behave this way. You should feel outraged. You should be doing things that express that outrage. Like, stop just writing it off to, oh, well, that's just how Trump behaves. No, because if people checked him in 2020 or 2016 when he first became president, we wouldn't be where we are today. So it's time to start checking all of the people who are playing like with the American people's lives, because I hate to say it, that's essentially what's happening. They're playing with the working class lives here in America. With all of these decisions, be them in the forefront or behind the scenes, you should feel absolute outrage right now. And if you're not, like, I don't know what else to say. Like, I don't know what any of us can say to like trigger that in you.
We can't.
Genuinely, I don't know.
There's nothing we can. That's why we don't even worry about it. We say it and then we move on. If they're not willing to listen, they can go somewhere else. We need to stop worrying about convincing people. That's just an unfortunate fact. It's not about convincing. We're not going to convince anyone. We can talk about what it is, talk about what's going on. That's all we can do. I no longer worry about convincing people. That's why people wonder why I'm not getting stressed, because I can't. It's not worth it. It's not worth getting stressed about the people that are unwilling to listen. Because they don't want to be a part of the conversation. And if they don't want to be the part of the conversation, they can go to Dean's Live or Parker's Live, and they can whine about everything all they want. That's not going. As much as I respect the fact that those kind of people are willing to put themselves in the bullseye with people that aren't going to listen, the fact is they're not doing it to change minds. They're doing it to make money and to get gotcha moments. Their goal is to make those people look stupid. And as much as they have every right to do that, that's not what this live, this community, this podcast is about. This podcast is about being with people that are willing to listen, that are willing to learn, even though, like, again, could everything Jay Allen have said be true? Yeah, I think in many ways, I think what he said is true. But that doesn't mean there isn't value in what we're saying and what we're talking about. And this idea that just because they see what we're talking about as just a distraction does not mean there is no value to talking about it, does not mean that we're being blind to the distraction. Or do you think we're going to talk about the same thing for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Yes. Do I believe that this administration, do I believe that conservative Christians, do I believe that MAGA, do I believe that these groups of people are trying to destroy our government? Sure. Oh, CCT, that's not how a society works. It's not a vote our way or the highway. Welcome to society. This is great. Oh my gosh. Okay, goodbye. Goodbye.
I think that's a bot.
I'm sure it is. Anyways, the point is, I know it'll be hard for some of us, because there are times it's hard for me. We need to stop worrying about the people that aren't willing to listen. We need to stop worrying about them in the sense of, like, what can we do to convince them? Because the answer is we can't. That's the answer. It's not going to happen.
I agree with you, Mike. Oh, I'm sorry. Who was somebody getting ready to talk?
Sorry, Shug.
Oh no, you're good. I didn't see your mic muted or unmute. That's why I did. That's why I said something. My bad.
Yeah, we had that discussion earlier. For some reason in Mike's live, it does not like me.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead, Kay. I don't want to.
What I was just going to say, though, is, I think the part on top of that, though, is not on. I want to add in addition. Listen, when people of marginalized communities, we have been speaking on this before Donald Trump even came into the picture on a political scale. We have been talking about a lot of the issues that we were having in this country. And then you have somebody like him that came along and just really exacerbated everything. Listen, when people are telling you there's problems and they're having issues, listen. Don't just wait until it affects you to want to listen and for you to want to give a damn. And I think that's part of the issue I've been struggling with since the election the most, is like, damn, how long do people have to tell you how bad it is? And then you start whining and crying after the fact, like you didn't believe us, like our word wasn't enough. Listen. Please listen.
Indeed. You know what? I'm going to be as civil, but as blunt as possible. The problem with folks like Jay Allen is, first, you come in and just you're inflammatory, for one. Then you further proceed to not speak about what you're saying. You don't elaborate your point. You don't even bring up a discussion point. So how do you come in, call someone a liar, don't say what they lied about, then don't say what you're talking about, and you're talking about distractions? You're a bigger distraction now, derailing the conversation. Even if they spent 2 seconds on you and moved on, that's 2 vital seconds, because time is a thing that we can't get back. So if you're going to talk about something, talk about it. Here's what I'm going to tell you, and this is for anyone who wants to be a knucklehead. Be loud or be wrong, but don't be both. It's hard to correct both at the same time. We can fix loud, we can fix wrong, but man, it's tough to deal with both at the same time.
Oh my gosh, Shug. I said that one day. So the only time I've ever actually participated in a debate, I got up there with Felice one night, y'all. And it was, I'm like, how are you so loudly wrong? Like, you're so loud and confidently wrong. The amount of confidentially, like, they're so wrong on so many levels and they're so loud. And it's like, really? I just, it's hard.
Yeah, I agree with you. And you know what? To your point, kid, that you were bringing up, like about how rough Trump has been. There's a what is it? It's on Netflix. It's about the woman who was in Central Park, the Central Park jogger. But there was effectively, without giving the whole thing, but effectively these 5 boys were falsely accused, and this was in '89. And the thing was, there's footage where Trump paid, like, I don't know how much. I don't want to get up here and lie, but he paid an extreme amount of money, an exorbitant amount of money on these ads. So basically trying to come down on them, crack down on them. He's been saying this stuff for a long time. It ain't even, so to me, the thing is not even us trying to tell you this is how he's been. He's always shown himself to be this.
Yeah, the Central Park 5.
There you go. Yes, the Central Park 5. Is that the name of the Netflix series? I can't remember what it's called.
I don't know
on
if that's
Netflix?
what the Netflix series is called, but that's what they call that group of 5 people.
Yes, correct.
And And it wasn't just that though, Suge. Did you see where they actually had him on camera at the White House on the front lawn, legit saying he still didn't believe after the fact, after they were exonerated, which they should have been, the treatment of those boys was because they were kids. I don't care if
Right.
they were 16, 17, they were kids. He
Yep.
still said that they should be held accountable after they had already been exonerated. That man, that's why when people sit there and say he's not racist, yes, the fuck he is. He's been racist since those big red C's him and his dad used to put on those apartment applications. That dude is racist and has been.
Yep.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you, Violetita. Yes, when they see us, that is the name of it. But yeah, kid, I agree with you. I mean, even with
See you, Scott.
yeah, there's no there's no there's no way around it. It's what it is that the people were already that way, and he just made them feel comfortable to be that way. And now that it's like you said, and the thing is, now that it is starting to affect them, now you're trying to get people on your side. You're trying to, purple revolute. No, nope. Nope. I listen. If you wanna fix yourself, you go right ahead. But you're gonna have to do the homework to fix you first. This ain't about no merging. You didn't get tricked. You didn't get tricked. You were very comfortable where you were, and you felt empowered. And now you want somebody else to come and do the work for you to get you back to where you are, so you can go back to treating us like you were before. Nah, no thanks.
I just saw a video from the guy who tried to start that,
Mhm.
and he's like, politics can't be a part of this, and I was like, what now? That's literally the only thing that it can be a part of. Like, we can't have policy can't be a part of this. Politics can't. It's like, hello?
Oh,
What
so
exactly did
so that person thinks we're here. Yeah, all right, cool. Sure.
what is
I'll
are
look
we
at-
talking about? Jay Allen?
No.
Oh, okay. I missed all of Jay Allen. I dropped wet cat food on myself, and I had to go get in the shower because that shit stinks. So
Oh,
I missed all of Jay Allen. Who are we talking about that made the video?
The guy who started that Purple Revolution thing. I don't remember his name.
I agree with Mission. That purple revolution is a Trojan horse. Don't believe it. Not for even a second.
See, I don't think it was a Trojan horse. I think it was a guy who realized MAGA was bad and thought that. So again, I've had some conversations with people that were former MAGA, and I've seen some videos from people that were former MAGA. When you come out of that whole group of people, you got to remember, they're coming from a distorted view of America, and what they see, they haven't done the internal the self care, the self reflection that is necessary to work your way out of MAGA and that whole thing. There'll be an interview, might not come out next week, I don't know. Haven't decided. But I interview someone who works with Democratic candidates, but started as MAGA, started with the Republican Party. And they even said for them, and based on what I heard, it didn't sound like they were absolutely crazy, but like crazy MAGA, but it took them 3 years, they said, to fully unpack to the point where they could understand where they were wrong, what needed to happen, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, I understand. I've seen all of his videos. I understand why people are saying what they're saying. I think some of it is this guy, in the sense of, I think he is coming. I think what we are seeing is a guy that realizes that the current administration is wrong, that that there are wrong things about society, but but still looking at it from the perspective of where he has always been, which is part of MAGA. He has not done the internal work to unpack everything. And that is something that is necessary. It's something that takes time. He took no time. He thinks he's viewing things from the perspective of how things work in the MAGA cult. And in the MAGA cult, they are willing to literally ignore everything. Absolutely everything, if they think that their end goal will be reached. That's why you are seeing conservative Christians be willing to ignore every teaching of the Bible because they think that in the end, we can become a Christian nation. They think that in the end, we can become, see you, Louise, that we can become this godly country. They're literally willing to ignore the lion chewing off their face in order to get this world that they want. And that is how MAGA works. So what he did was he realized something's wrong, and everything he's saying is wrong is true. And there's a lot of MAGA that see it wrong too. That's the other thing that we need to understand. Like, what he's saying is all true. From both sides, we've all agreed that it's wrong. That's something, there's problems with it. But he is trying to do things in the way MAGA works, not realizing that the left does not work that way. The left does not just, say, oh, we agree that these things are bad, let's team up, because he doesn't see yet how people have been hurt by everything. He has never put himself in the shoes of another person. So again, not saying that he's good or right, or not even saying that he is not a Trojan horse. Not saying it. Don't know, never talked to the guy. I've only seen his videos. As someone who makes videos all day, every day, it's easy for things to come across wrong if you don't take your time to figure out what you're going to say. And everything I've seen says this guy turns on a camera and just starts talking. He does not process things before he speaks. He just speaks. And that in the content creation world, that is a recipe for disaster. So again, not trying to vilify him in any way, shape, or form. Just saying.
Is it that I haven't watched enough of it, because always from the beginning, since the beginning of this MAGA thing, I was like, you can't just sit there and say that you're not MAGA anymore. But is it that he really sees that they're wrong, or is it because things are starting to affect him and that's what he's caring about?
I don't know. I haven't talked to him. I just know what he said in the videos. MAGA has always said that things are costing too much, and the government is corrupt and all these things. Like, if you look at the arguments from a very generic and simplistic standpoint, we actually agree on things. We've said this. There is agreement on some of the issues on all sides. There's more to it, and we realize there's more to it, and it's not as simple as, this is bad and this is good. So I don't know. What's his name? I don't remember. He changed his name. His name used to be Purple Revolution. I don't know what he changed it to. I just see his stuff coming out.
So
Yeah.
is it a older white guy?
Yeah, I think so. He's probably a little older than I am.
Because I saw, when I went into TikTok, I happened to see him come out, and he was saying something to the effect of, so much for the tolerant left or whatever.
Oh yeah. He got chewed out by the left for for obvious reasons, he got absolutely chewed out by the left. A lot of people didn't trust him, didn't agree with him, said, we're not going to work with you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he snapped. He snapped.
And I think my thing is though, it's kind of just like with the orange one. You can't set a fire and then be the one to put it out and then expect praise.
Sure.
And expect for you to be hero worshipped. And that's the thing. Like, you can't, after you vote, after you've negatively affected all these people, after you've actively engaged all the things that were so harmful to people, you can't expect that just because you decide to get on TikTok one day and say, hey, I used to feel this way, but I changed my mind, and then expect everybody to just be your friend. And that's just not how it's going to be.
I know. And that's what people were telling him. And again, I'm not saying he's right. I'm just saying how he views things from his perspective. From the perspective of MAGA, this is why he came. And this is why anyone that comes out of that system needs to do a lot of internal thinking and processing and listening of people on the other side before they jump into what he was trying to do. Now, does it always need to take 3 years? I don't know. Everyone's different in how long it takes. I'm not going to say that one way or another. But in the end, you're absolutely right, Kia. There's no question that he went out and there was no way what he was wanting to do was going to be possible because of how he was going about it and who he was formally, assuming it wasn't a Trojan horse. I'm just saying that's a problem that we're going to have with a lot. I see that problem becoming larger as time goes on. Restoring old America. There it is. Thank you. I see that problem being more difficult as time goes on because, sorry, I got to take this phone call.
Oh, I was going to say, my gut tells me he's a Trojan horse. The fact that he says the tolerant left and he's calling himself restoring old America, all of those things combined tells me to not trust this person. They are not safe. They are not a safe person, whether it's that they have left MAGA and they've had some epiphany or whatever. They're still not a safe person for anyone to trust or anyone to align themselves with. They are not safe. They haven't been doing any of the work, and it just, everything in my gut tells me bad, run, danger. That's like, it's true. I'm sorry. And I trust that, you know what? One thing I do as a woman, if my gut says bad, danger, run, I'm running. I'm not asking questions. I don't need to know the answer why. That is not a why I need resolved. So I don't trust it. Everybody make their own choices, like, because of course we all should, but something tells me that is not a person you want to align yourself with. They are not ready, even if it isn't quite a Trojan horse.
Sure, I think that's a fair stance, and I think that's a fair stance to take, to be weary and to take caution in that regard. Here's what I truly will say about the dude. I believe that, like you said, putting the work in first, it makes a difference. And so those of you all know anything about me, y'all know. So I am a Christian, and I'm rolling with the Lord. But I will say this: I view it similarly to Paul in the Bible, and this is not pushing anything. I'm just using it as a point of reference. Paul went from, as a Christian, persecuting other Christians, even heralding for the death of Christians, to being among the most prolific, writing a good majority of the New Testament in the Bible. The difference is he put an extreme amount of work in, suffered an extreme amount as well. He dealt with the consequences of his actions. Then he started to put the work in. To me, if you don't start with the, hey, how can I do better portion, then you're not going to get to the, all right, let's combat this portion. So you can't just like you said, you can't you're overcorrecting, right? You haven't even dealt with yourself, and then you're expecting someone else to jump in the boat with you. Like, buddy, you got a lot to work on before you start before you start calling for anything. And in terms of I want to say this: I'm not above forgiving anyone. I'm not. But still, it comes down to putting the work in. Like forgiveness, and I think I think in general we tend to get a very romanticized definition or a very romanticized idea behind what these words mean, and don't really grasp the weight of the work that has to be put in to get things accomplished. Like saying I forgive you doesn't mean that you don't have to take care of what you've done. That just means that, hey, I'm going to allow you the opportunity to correct what you've done. I'm not going to hold it against you moving forward. But it's a two-part thing though. Like it requires both of us to work together to forge a better path forward. You can't just go, if I go if I go and can we if I tap someone in the face very hard, I don't know, can we say slap? Is that okay? I know we have to be very careful here.
I have no idea on that one. It's fine. You can say it. I don't care.
You don't want to see anything that makes TikTok think you're talking about promoting violence
That's
to
true.
another person. So that's where you got to be.
Sure.
You might have to use some slang terms or
All right. So if I let's just say if I caused harm to someone, I can't just say, hey, I'm no longer going to cause harm to you and just act like everything's okay. I have to acknowledge, hey, I caused you harm. And let's say, and just to keep everything on the up and up, let's say I verbally, was verbally attacking someone. Then I have to say, hey, take care, Tiffany. I have to say, hey, what I did was wrong, and I am sincerely apologizing for that. That's the first thing. I have to acknowledge what I did wrong. And then second, I have to accept civilly whatever the other party responds with. I have to accept that because I'm the one that wronged them. So if they turn around and say, look, you don't have my forgiveness. Hey, okay. And I walk away and I got to live with that because I'm the one that did the action. If they turn around and they say, hey, I don't forgive you. Oh, you know what? You could feel that way, but I am sorry. And then I have to go on living and no longer doing that thing that I was doing. If they say, hey, you know what? Cool. Don't let it happen again, but let's do it. All right. Then we can do that. So it's not just, if you're really going to talk about doing this thing and moving forward, you have to like I said, you got to take accountability for yourself. You really do. And like Mike pointed to, these people, like you have to realize that people can be sincerely deceived. Not every one of them is just as far gone per se as they as the rest of them, if you will. But it's still those roots run deep. In making any life change is tough. Even good life changes are tough. If you want to work out, you want to diet and all that stuff you got to change to make that happen and incorporate that, that's tough. That's all I'm saying when it comes to this deal. I'm not saying, like I said, do I think it needs to be this quote unquote purple revolution or whatever? No. But just be open enough to allow someone to put the work in and extend them a little bit of grace. Just a little bit of grace. Yeah, I mean, it's just like anything else, right? The people who are close in your life, if they come to you you can generally tell how they're approaching you. If they're coming to you on some nonsense, then let them, all right, okay, whatever, I hear you, but we're just gonna not, we're just gonna stay away from you pretty much. But if they come to you and you genuinely feel like they're like, hey, you know what, they're trying to reach out here, they haven't been raising bells and any alarms off for it, then do your best to give them that opportunity. That's all I'm saying. Because one thing I am sure of is that us alone or them alone isn't going to get it. It won't work. We got to come together in some fashion. So that's my deal. And you know what? I am appreciative. I'm saying this from a place of personal experience. If it wasn't for people like Mike and Kia allowing me to say, yeah, man, no, I didn't participate in the majority of the presidential elections until the orange one. Yeah, I'm like him. I'm gonna vote against that. And then they're like, no, hey, so you got to care before that. It can't just be this. So we like, hey, here's some reasons why we strongly suggest you to look into it and go vote somewhere. Go vote for what you think is best. Hey, you know what? I'm willing. I'm willing to do that. And if they didn't allow me, if they came and said, "Oh, sure, how dare you not vote?" or all of this, and can I tell you right now, champions, for those who don't know, like I say, I served 6 years in the military, and I've been through a lot of tough situations, and so nobody, if anybody approaches me in an off-putting fashion, I have zero problem walking away. And I'm not there's a lot of people who like to yell and stuff before they get into a fight. I'm not one of those. I would just, okay, if you approach me wrong, you might find yourself in a different situation. And for me, if it comes to being attacked socially, I'm not gonna engage with you. I'm just out. Peace.
And this I think is a perfect example of what I keep preaching, speaking about when it comes to communication as a whole. Shug, it was easy for me to come at it in the way I did because you and I know each other.
Right.
We have that relationship. I know that you care about people. So we have that baseline that I can trust. And because I know we have that baseline, I can come and talk to you as a person whose fundamentals I align with. And that's where it gets hard, is we get people whose fundamentals may or may not align, we may or may not align with, but come in and they don't spend time listening, and they spend tons of time preaching to the people here. And
Yeah.
it's like, there are people in this. He wasn't in here today, but there's at least one person who comes in who we on many things completely disagree on.
Mm-hmm.
But I truly believe fundamentally we actually believe the same things. And because of that, he keeps coming back and keeps talking. Now, I may or may not quote unquote convince him of my way, but because he was willing to listen, and he knows that I'm willing to listen, and he knows that, and we both are willing to be wrong, even if may have never convinced each other that we're wrong, that allows for the door to be able to work together on things that need to happen in this country. And that's where I think that we've failed, is people come in and they just take their, I mean, how many people come in here and just tell me that I am wrong, but don't know who they are, don't know what they're thinking. You get people like this, who's supposedly a Boston Red Sox fan, which makes me sad as a Sox fan myself, that he would come in and just make a dumb statement like that because it shows he does not, he's not willing to listen. He's already decided. Every Republican that chose to try and pass a bill without getting the votes that they knew they needed to get.
And this is what I will say. This is what I will say in response to what you were saying, Shug, is that, you know, forgiveness is something I talked about a lot when I was in therapy. And the one thing is I think it's a lot easier to do forgiveness with people that you know sometimes. And I think what the problem is, and it's kind of tying it back to the other stuff with the Purple Revolution. First of all, it can't just be your words. Your actions have to show. And what I have learned is not everybody deserves forgiveness. Because some people hurt you in ways that are unforgivable, and sometimes it's those that are closest to you. But I do agree in the fact that I think we need to be, if we're not willing to at least hear what they're saying. Now, you want to come in here and talk about anything hateful, I don't care what you got to say. But you've lost me completely in the conversation already. But it is hard, and I think sometimes as Christians, I feel sometimes Christians they talk about that forgiveness stuff, and I don't think they truly understand sometimes how badly people have been hurt. It's not that easy to forgive these people what's been happening. We've had women that have lost their lives. Look at what happened to the sister in Georgia. They kept her on freaking life support after her family asked for her to be removed so that way she could continue to incubate a baby. And that they were going to make her family pay for all the bills while the whole time they made her stay alive and the baby and all that stuff. It's hard, I think, sometimes to be forgiving, especially when people are being so hurtful. And I think for me, that's like one of my biggest things. And since the election, it has been even harder.
And Kia, I definitely understand that perspective. And simply because we're on this topic, I think, again, like I said, I think there's a very romanticized version, an idea of what people believe forgiveness is. Nobody is saying, well, I should say nobody. What I am saying, let me just focus on me. What I'm saying very directly and very honestly is forgiveness is a hard and challenging process. It's not just about the people that you care about. It's about people that you disagree with. It's about people that really rub you the wrong way. It's about people who flat out have done you wrong. There's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And in a very real way, forgiveness isn't about them. It's not about them. It's about you. Because I can give you, let's say, for example, let's say I put a salt shaker in your hand, right? And I put a gallon of milk in the other hand. Yeah, one weighs less than the other, sure. So the salt shaker being the person that you like, right? Versus the gallon being somebody that you like. But the thing is, the longer you hold on to it, the more strain it's going to put on you. You can hold that gallon of milk as long as you can, but ultimately, you will do more damage to your own arm than you'll do to that gallon of milk or that salt shaker. You'll wear yourself out. Again, am I saying, oh, we just absolve people from something? No, not at all. Accountability is the cornerstone of forgiveness. You can't be, you can't leave that part out. That's the first place, that's where you start. That's home base. But over time, that stuff will eat you alive. Nobody can survive with that much hurt or that much pain at whatever level it is. Not going to make it. So like I said, is it this rah-rah, like kumbaya type stuff? No, not at all. But that healing part, that's for you. That's for us. And yeah, it does apply in these tough situations. And I want to be, I'm going to say something, okay? Just so y'all can understand the magnitude with which I'm saying this. Among the toughest situations in my life happened when I was a little child, when I was a young kid. I was around 9 or so, and I was essay grade. However, I believe I said that properly, correct?
Yep.
And this was by a family member. Okay, so I did forgive him, and we do have a solid relationship today. Was it easy? No, it wasn't. Were we both young? Yeah. That sucks. That's a hard situation. So I'm not saying this from a place of like, oh, no, y'all, I'm telling you, I'm just doing what the Lord said. No, I get it. I understand how tough that is. But if you hold on to it, it's going to eat you alive. And also, let me be clear. Having forgiveness or allowing some forgiveness for someone, that doesn't mean that you're to be best buds. That just means I'm not holding that in moving forward. I'm not holding it against you moving forward. But sometimes you got to draw that line. Hey, look, you said you was going to rehab. I'll just use that. You said you was going to rehab. Man, you didn't do what you were supposed to do. I forgave you for what you did, but hey, man, you're just going to have to figure this out on your own now. I can't be a part of your path to recovery. And I'm saying for whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever energy you have, cherish it, use it wisely. But forgiveness is not a romanticized thing. It's not a romanticized thing. It's not, it's not this let's hold hands and sing by the campfire type of thing. Yeah, some relationships can grow to that through forgiveness, but forgiveness is very much hard work. If you don't put that work in, it doesn't work. And I'll be very honest too. Without forgiveness, love doesn't work. We all have stuff that we have had to overcome, and we have done some rough stuff to someone else in one way or another. We all need it. Nobody is above needing it. That I am very sure of. So like I said, cherish your energy. Hold on to it. Kia, I'm with you. But forgiveness ain't about them. It's about us. It's about us taking care of one another. And ultimately, we move forward with who we can move forward with, and who we don't, we leave alone.
Sound like my therapist, who's also a pastor.
What's that?
I said, you said my therapist says the same thing. That forgiveness is for somebody. For a lot of people, I'd much rather just forget that you exist, and just keep it moving, and then just not dwell on the thoughts, and that works. But I'm gonna do your commercial right quick, and then I'm gonna drop so I can get ready to go live.
Yep.
We're about to finish out the day. We should have had Scott do it before he left. But y'all, it's that time for the commercial. Scott was here and he's already left, so you're stuck with me for now. Make sure, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that orange heart me, join the team, do all the things, collect your points. Let's TikTok know that we appreciate Mike and what he's doing here in this space for us. Make sure over here on the tube, we're almost at I see 18 people in chat, but only 16 thumbs up. So make sure, if you're over here and you haven't been to the tube, if you can jump over there and hit a thumbs up right quick, that also lets them know we like what Mike is doing. And this is what all of this is about. Making him grow is about telling everybody we like what he's doing. We do that by engaging on all the places, no matter where it's at, heart, liking, thumbs up, dropping a comment, sharing, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you listen to the podcast episodes. I'm actually about halfway through. I can't remember what her name is.
Meg?
I just first might be, because I think I'm a couple behind. But
Oh.
like the first one that popped up on my screen, and I was already pulling out of my driveway, so I just listened. But that's the one I made the comments on this morning.
Yeah, so that was the most recent one. That was with Meg. Yeah.
Okay, with Meg. So definitely check it out. He's putting out 2 episodes a week. If you haven't listened to him, I like to listen to him when I'm driving, because even if I try doing it at home, when I'm doing the dishes, dogs, cats, somebody else needs my attention. What else? We've got Discord. Make sure you join us over there. There's lots of channels. You can talk about any and everything pretty much that you want in long form. You don't have to worry about such limited characters. You also got Substack, where you can either listen or you can read what he's got going on. Where else do you have stuff streaming at?
Technically, I'm on Instagram too.
Yeah, the IG. We don't want to say the names of the meta places because the TikTok does not like those places.
We're about to get off.
But yeah, so all of those things. And that's it. So just keep showing your love. I'm noticing that every day there's more people over here with us running amok on the tube. We do run amok over there. And you don't have to worry about like being filtered. You can have a grown ass conversation like grown ups like we are, and not have to use silly ass words for such serious stuff that we have going on.
Mhm.
The fact that we have to say great just makes me want to pull all my hair out, and I have a lot of it. Shug, I'm sending you big hugs and loves. Thank you for sharing your story with us. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. Thank y'all for having me on.
Absolutely. So yeah, I'm gonna go live for about an hour. It's gonna be a short one today because I got a bunch of running around to do. But I'm getting ready to feed a bunch of little wild kittens. I appreciate the conversation today, as always, like I always do. I appreciate you guys in chat. You guys have been doing way better with the likes and stuff, even with smaller numbers, and I appreciate it. And I think that's it.
Thanks,
Can you
Kia.
think of anything else?
Nope.
You're welcome. All right. Well, I love you, brother.
Love you too.
Shug, I see you later. I'll see any of you guys that are going to be in my live. Love you guys. Sending all the loves. Sending big squishy hugs. I'm a squishy mom hugger. Sending all the hugs and loves. And don't let those fuckers get to you today. Just remember, joy. Joy. You being joyful is an act of defiance against this bullshit. So whether that means watching Hocus Pocus and watching the witches run amok, or finding funny videos to watch or whatever, do not let them fuckers take your joy. When they take our joy, they win. And I refuse to let them win in that way. And with that, I leave. Bye.
Bye.
Right.
Guys, thank you so much for hanging out. It is noon, so I'm gonna jump off. I gotta get my flu shot today, so that'll be fun. Yeah. Shug, thanks for coming up, guys. By the way, I'm gonna be hanging out with Shug. What is it? Oh, a week from tomorrow.
That is correct.
A week from tomorrow.
23rd.
On his Purple app channel. I haven't decided if I'm gonna go live too, just because that way more people will see it and we could just co-live or whatever and get you some more people to watch. But either way, I'm gonna be hanging out with him. He's gonna interview me. So if you want to learn more about me, that'll probably be a good chance because I don't talk about myself that much. But yeah, so yeah, I hope you guys have thank you for the likes, the shares, the gifts. You guys are awesome. Thank you for everyone that gave thumbs up over on the tube. Thank you for everyone that's been watching my content consistently and regularly. I appreciate it more than you possibly can know. Seeing the number of viewing hours over on the tube move up consistently towards that point where I can actually start potentially being able to do this for a living. It means the world to me. So thank you guys. It means a lot. Yeah. I will see you guys tomorrow morning. Hope you guys go out. I don't know if it's a nice day where you are, but it's a nice day here. So go out and touch some grass if it's nice. And if it's not, do something fun. You guys are amazing, just the way you are, and I love you all very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile. Do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys. Goodbye, YouTube.